Hello and welcome to week 2, how to coach yourself. Now, I'm going to be honest and let you know that I have run into roadblock after roadblock attempting to get this podcast going. I've had issues with the audio, issues with just everything. It has definitely not gone as planned. It has been so much more of a challenge. Now, why am I telling you this? I think it's because it's important for me to share my struggles with you. I'm a human. It doesn't matter that I'm a coach. I still experience so many different issues. But what's the name of this podcast? The Unstoppable Single Mom. So am I going to let something stop me? No. If I want to be an example to you of being truly unstoppable, and I can't let anything stop me. I can't make any excuses. And instead of sitting down and complaining, I just need to find a solution. The answer is always out there. It's just whether we're willing to do the work or not to go find it. So today we're going to talk about something really important. It's how to coach yourself. Now, if you haven't worked with a coach in the past, or even if you have, you know the power of coaching, but sometimes coaching can be out of somebody's budget, or maybe it's something that you are interested in, but you're not quite ready to take the leap, and that's okay. Because the good news is you don't need a coach to transform your life. Yes, they can help. They can be a complete game changer, but the best coach that you can ever have is you. And the good news is you don't cost any money, and you don't need to go to school to learn anything. You can just listen to this podcast and learn how to coach yourself. It's awesome. So today we're going to be learning a tool that I have used for years. And I work with a coach still, and we use this tool all the time, simply because it works and it's really powerful. Now, I didn't invent this tool. This is not something that I created. This was a tool that was created by my instructor, Brooke Castillo, at the Life Coach School. It's amazing. I truly think it's a game changer. It's something I use all the time. Like I said, I use it with my coach. The good thing about it is it's free. You can use it anytime. And the way that I see it is similar to a workout. It's not like you go to the gym one time and you're like, sweet, now I'm in shape. You got to go back to it. It's a daily practice. I encourage you to use this anytime you're feeling really overwhelmed, or anytime you're trying to create a different result in your life. This is the tool that you're going to want to use. Honestly, you can use it every day. So what it is it's called the model, the self-coaching model. It's basically 5 words. And if you can, grab a piece of paper and write this down. If you're driving, please don't do that right now. Go back when you're not driving and write these down. So it starts with the first word at the top, starts with circumstance. And then below that, you're going to write thought. Underneath that, you're going to write feeling, and then action. And the final one is result. Now, typically what I do when I write this out, just to save time, I'll just write a C, a T, an F, an A, and an R. And so then it's basically giving me the option to fill in the blank with what's going on in my life. I think the reason that the model is so powerful is because what we're taught is the opposite of this. What we are taught in school, what we're taught at home is literally the opposite of the model. Now, here's an example. The other day, my daughter was talking to me. She's 8, and she said, Mom, I don't want to say that to somebody because my teacher said that my words can hurt someone else's feelings. And I understand where her teacher's coming from, and I know that she has my daughter's best interest at heart. But what she's saying to her isn't true. And here's why. Now, let's say oftentimes your circumstance is a fact. It could be something that happened in the past. It could be something that's happening right now. It could be something that someone said to you. But it's a fact. It's not how you feel about it. It's not what you think about it. It's the truth. It's something that you could prove if you went to court and said, yep, that's true. Maybe it's that you're divorced. Maybe it's that you're single. Maybe it's that you're a mom. Those are facts. A circumstance is not, my ex is a terrible person. That would be a thought. So let's say your circumstances, somebody comes up to you and says, I don't like your outfit. It's ugly. That's a circumstance. Now, you might think in that moment, oh my gosh, is my outfit ugly? Do I look terrible? And you're immediately going to feel probably uncomfortable or maybe embarrassed. Now let's put same circumstance, different person. Somebody comes up to them and goes, I don't like your outfit, it's ugly. That person might think, I like my outfit, whatever, and feel pretty content. Again, same circumstance. It's not the words that hurt the person. It was what they thought about it. That's it. So it's not really what somebody says to you that can hurt you. It's simply what you think about it. And often if you agree with the person and whatever they said, then yeah, you might get your feelings hurt. But if you don't agree with them and you don't think that, you're probably not going to be hurt by that. So our words don't necessarily hurt other people unless we think that they're right and we allow them to hurt our feelings. So the reason the model is so powerful is it takes what we know and what we're taught and it flips it upside down and it changes it. What I like to do when I'm teaching somebody the model for the first time is I tell them, start at the top by your C line or the circumstance and draw an arrow straight down going down to results and point an arrow down. That helps show your brain it starts up here and it goes this way. Now, I think this is important because our circumstances are neutral. They're sometimes within our control, but oftentimes they're out of our control. But our thoughts, what comes after that? That's where your power lies. That is always optional. I'm going to say that again. What you think or what you put in your thought line is always optional. You get to choose what you put in there. Every time. Nobody gets to decide that for you. You get to decide what you think, which is amazing. After your thought, so let's say you're thinking, oh my gosh, my outfit is ugly. That's going to create a feeling. Your feeling could be embarrassment. It could be just this uneasy feeling. It could be shame. There's so many different feelings you have. I think it's important when you're writing out your model to just put one word in your feeling line. Sad, mad, some feelings you describe, maybe with a few words, but really try to focus in on when I'm thinking that thought, whatever it might be. Maybe it's the thought, I hate my ex. What feeling comes up for you? Something that I think is also important to point out is that when you're writing out your model, nobody else needs to see it. And I want you to be honest. Don't put down what you hope to think or what you hope to feel. We can get to that in a minute. What I want you to put down is what you're truly thinking. What you're thinking doesn't make you a bad person. They're just thoughts in your brain. Your thoughts kind of run through your head all the time, and they could be good, they can be bad sometimes. Just be honest with yourself, put it down. The more honest you can be, the more powerful this tool can be. If you're not honest with yourself, this tool's not really going to work. So after you put your thought line down, put whatever you're thinking about your circumstance. Maybe your circumstance is that you're a single mom. What do you think about that? Let's say you think this is terrible and I hate it. How does that make you feel? I want you to put in your feeling line, like I said, one word. And then from there, I want you to brainstorm. What are the actions that I take or that I don't take once I'm feeling that feeling? So let's say you're feeling embarrassment because somebody said that they don't like your outfit. What do? Do you then scroll on Pinterest looking for different outfits? Do you go and maybe reach out to some friends and go, oh my gosh, do I not have any style? Are my clothes ugly? What do? Do you go shopping to try to fill this need to change your style and to get validation from somebody else? What is it that you're doing or not doing? Maybe you go watch TV. Maybe you beat yourself up. What are those actions? Write them down. And then that will create a result for you. Maybe the result is that you don't feel confident in your clothes or you don't feel confident about yourself. What I find every time, I think this helps, is if you write out thoughts equals results, what is in your thought line will always be proven true in your result line. Here's an example. Let's say your thought is that you hate your ex. Your brain, because it doesn't want to be wrong, is going to continuously find evidence on how you hate your ex and why you should hate your ex, and it's going to prove it to be true in your results. Now, why is that? The brain doesn't want to be wrong. Think back if you were a hunter-gatherer and you were out gathering some food. If you collected the wrong berries and ate them, you could die. I mean, we don't really live that way anymore. We get to go to the grocery store and all the berries there that we could eat are safe. But our brain is still wired the same way. So your brain doesn't want to be wrong. It wants to be certain. And so it is an incredible detective. And what your brain will do all the time is look for evidence in your life that what you're thinking is true, even if it's not true. So let's say you don't believe you're good enough. Your brain is going to constantly look for evidence to prove that it's right. You're going to go, look, I didn't get that job. See, I'm not good enough. Look, that guy, he didn't text me back. See, not good enough. Look, my friend didn't show up today. Not good enough. It's going to look for all the evidence, your brain's really sneaky, to prove that what you're thinking is true. So what you're thinking will end up creating the results in your life. So if you want different results, you have to start thinking different thoughts. This is how the model is so powerful because, like I said, your thoughts are optional. You get to decide what they are. Nobody else does. You get to pick them. You can change them too. That's the cool part. Now, I will say, let's say you're trying to go from I'm not good enough to I'm good enough. If you all of a sudden throw in a new thought to your brain that's I'm good enough now, I'm amazing, your brain has created so much evidence to prove the opposite to be true, it's not going to believe you. It's going to be like, nope, and it's going to throw that out. So what do? You start with a baby step. You start with something believable, something a little bit different, but not quite the same. So let's say you're trying to go from I'm not good enough to I am good enough and I'm worthy of love. What helps is starting with something neutral. So instead of going from I'm not good enough to I'm amazing, because like I said, your brain's not going to buy it, go from I'm not good enough to I am someone who's learning that I'm good enough. Or I'm becoming someone who knows they're good enough. Your brain can start to believe that because it's kind of a transition. We call it like a bridge thought. It's something that's believable. Your brain's going to be like, oh, okay. Now, something I also encourage you to do is allow yourself to be wrong sometimes. Try to be open-minded here. Thought work can be tough because we are changing the way that you think. Now, again, the brain doesn't like to be wrong, and the brain doesn't really like to change. It likes to think what it's always thought, and it likes to do what it's always done because that's easy and that's efficient. Your brain's just wired that way. So some of this can be uncomfortable. It can take a little bit of energy, but it is such a game changer that I really encourage you to do it and to try it. But just be aware that in the beginning, it might be a little uncomfortable at first. It might be a little frustrating at first. Now, something that's common too that I want to point out is oftentimes what people will do is they'll find out about the model and they'll go, wow, okay, my thoughts create my feelings. That's cool. So if I want to feel happy all the time, then I just need to change my thoughts. And I understand that is honestly, it's a really smart way to think. That's probably a conclusion I would come to too. Now here's the good news and the good news. Yes, I said that on purpose. The good news is you could change your thoughts to be happy all the time. But you want to be happy if your child was to die? Do you want to be happy if your best friend got cancer? Probably not. At the end of the day, no matter how rich you are, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people love you, you can't escape the human experience. And the reason this is also good news is that you wouldn't really want to. Let's play your life out if you were happy all the time. Would happiness really feel like happiness anymore? I don't think so. In order to enjoy the highs, you have to experience the lows. In order to enjoy those amazing, beautiful, warm summers, you got to experience the cold winters. Otherwise, you'd be sick of summer. In order to deal with the highs and the lows, you have to have like that yin and that yang, that push, that pull. It's just kind of that part of life. And the point of coaching and the point of thought work is not to shift happiness all the time. It's to learn to deal with all of the emotions that come up with the human experience. I'm sure you've seen celebrities that aren't that happy, people that are super rich. They're humans too. They experience all the different emotions that humans have. They just do. You can't escape them. We often want to, but when we start to learn to process our feelings, which we will on this podcast, they're not so scary. It's just a feeling. And honestly, the cool thing is I see it like a wave. It kind of comes up and then the feeling goes. The problem with feelings is when we resist them. There's a saying, what we resist persists. When we try to avoid feelings, they just keep coming up. So the goal is to learn to process them, to learn to sit with them. And then once we've processed them and sat with them, then we can intentionally decide, okay, what do I want to shift to now? And the cool thing is like I said, it's all a choice. Here's an example that I think is a cool one to point out. This morning, my daughter was telling me that she won't get to experience anything fun until she stops going to her dad's house. She doesn't always like going. And I told her, you know what? That's not true. She looks at me. She's like, what do you mean? And I said, some things are out of our control. So maybe going there is out of your control. She has to go. But having fun there, that's something you get to decide. That's your choice. That's your thought. The circumstance, okay, I got to go here. I got to do this thing. But you can decide if you make it fun, or you can decide if it's not fun. It's ultimately your choice. Nobody gets to choose what you think other than you. And it ultimately is where all your power is. I think sometimes it can be a little overwhelming when we're learning about the model. It is something we are going to continue to talk about all the time. It's something I'll reference often because it's an amazing tool. We'll talk about tons of other coaching tools on this podcast, but the model is kind of a big foundational one for me. I like to see it as we're trying to build a big, beautiful house. And right now, the model is like laying the foundation. It's kind of a boring part of building a home. But if you don't build a really strong foundation, the house isn't going to be very strong. The house is just going to collapse over time. So we want to build a really strong foundation for you to build the best life that you possibly can. If you want to be unstoppable, which is why you're here, we need to lay a solid foundation of tools that you can use to create the life of your dreams. Now, sometimes it can be a little hard when we're going through and learning how to create a model. When I was going through my coaching certifications, sometimes I would get confused. Is this a circumstance? Is this a thought? I don't know. What result is this creating for me? I would get tripped up on it, and I was in school for it. So I understand that sometimes this can be overwhelming. So you are more than welcome to reach out to me. You can shoot me an email. My email's in the show notes. It's also just coachmegandoyle@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. Attempt to fill out a model and go, is this right? I think this is my model. I don't know. Send it my way and I will help you. I'm happy to help break this down for you. It is my goal and my life mission to help other single moms become unstoppable. And you do this by using things like the model. I don't want you to be scared of it. It takes a little bit of time to learn, but you can figure it out and then you can use this tool anytime. It is so helpful that I encourage you to use it anytime you need it. Whether you're, like I said, wanting to create a different result, or you're feeling a feeling that you don't know how to deal with, write it down. You can do this on your phone. You can do this on a notepad. It is such an amazing tool. I think one of the reasons why it helps so much is because it takes your circumstance and it helps separate it out from your thoughts. A lot of times we'll think, oh, I'm divorced, my ex cheated on me, and he's an absolutely terrible person. That's a circumstance. That's a fact. It's a fact he's a terrible person. At the end of the day, I know this is hard. Unfortunately, that's not a fact. That's a thought. The circumstance might be that you're divorced, and maybe the circumstance is your ex had an affair, but you're choosing to think that he's a terrible person. That's optional. And again, you can think that if you want, but see what that creates for you. When you're thinking he's a terrible person, how does it make you feel? Do you want to keep feeling that? We can't change him, but we can change what you think about the situation, which will create different feelings for you and different results for you. At the end of the day, the only person this impacts is you, because what you're thinking creates what you're feeling. And again, it's optional. You get to decide. So like I said, if you have any questions on this, shoot me an email. I also have a 12-week program that is amazing. It is a transformative process where we do a deep dive into coaching, different tools that you can use. What we learn is how to create more time in your life for the goals that you want, how to create more money in your life, because the average single mom makes about $34,000 a year. And to me, that's just not enough. And third, we focus on your relationships, the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with your kids, the relationship you have with your ex, and the relationships that you want to create in your life, whether it's the boyfriend that you have, the partner that you have, or the partner that you want to have. We focus on those three things, basically time, money, and relationships. We do a deep dive into all of those, and you get coached the whole time and supported through the whole process. You'll basically go from surviving to thriving as a single mom. You will become unstoppable. How do I know this? Because I've used all these tools and created this for myself in my life. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I am happy to help you. You can also find me on social media. My handle is Megan Doyle Coaching. I would love to see you there. All right, I will chat with you guys next week.